So what's, again, sorry if you're going to get a rough PowerPoint today, but do we have a lot of business students in here? What's the breakdown? How many are like, this is an entrepreneur class, isn't it? What's the title of this class? Okay, so you guys should be kind of into that stuff, right? Who, by raise of hand, I want to do a startup? Is there anyone in here? A few? Want to work for maybe a startup or like the idea of it, or maybe just have something supplemental on the side? Okay, a few more. All right. So with not really having anything truly prepared to present, so we're kind of winging it together, this is what we're going to do. FourUp, has anyone heard of FourUp in here? One. We got one, two, but you already knew, so that's okay. Okay, let me give you a quick pitch of what FourUp does. FourUp's a company I started with my co-founder Evan, and we run the whole entire business back end of a golf course. So we're in the golf industry. So hence the photo in the background, and everyone always says we have an awesome, sexy business. The truth is we don't really golf. We're on the business side, and so we're not really on the consumer cool side of golf. So we're more behind the scenes. But what our technology does is if you wanted to go golfing, you're going to call them, and they have a schedule reservation system on their website calling in. We manage that reservation system. We do their point of sale, so we manage all their inventory, all their in and out. We do their reporting so they can fill it with financials. We do their email marketing, text marketing, mobile websites, everything you can think of to run the golf course, that's what we do. So invoicing, billing. And so where we got to that point is kind of what I wanted to go over today, if that's cool with everyone. So let's do this a little casual, if that's cool. Feel free, I'm just going to casually go through, and what I want to be able to do today is show you from where I went at the start of the company to where we are now. But keeping it casual, are we good just raising our hands if you have a question, interrupt, and let's just ask. I'm only here to hopefully, not that I have anything to pontificate and help you, but maybe we can create a discussion and ask that. So FourUp, here's where we started. We called it the cave. This is me, and this is my co-founder Evan. And we started in what we called the cave, and that's actually my spare bedroom when we were going to BYU. So we're both married. My wife, his wife, both got on board, and so we said, hey, we want to start this startup. It's going to be a cool company. And we thought we were the coolest thing in the world. But all we were two guys on a laptop dinking around in Excel, PowerPoint, pretending we knew what we were doing, right? Some of those stories. We were no different than anyone that just had an idea that said, I would like to make an ice cream shack. That's where we were here. So we started in the cave. Today, we rock it in the US and in Canada, and we have hundreds of courses across the United States that use our software, that are paying us, that are our customers, and doing millions in sales. So from 3 years ago to today, that's what I kind of want to go over with, if everyone's cool with that. What did it take to get there?
You guys don't do much of the golfing, so how did you get the idea to go into that?
Let's go to the next slide. Great question. So let's jump into that. So when I wanted to start FourUp, not getting into the golf industry, when I wanted to start, let's use FourUp loosely. When I wanted to start a company, I'd done a couple things before. The number one thing I noticed that was the hardest thing for me is I needed a founder, right? Some people don't need a co-founder in a company, and depending on the company and the strategy you're doing, maybe you don't need one, and all you really need is your spouse or your friend, someone that can be your support. For me personally, I needed someone that when I was having a terrible day or overloaded, I could throw off on them, and vice versa. So the first thing I did when I wanted to start this company is I needed to find a founder. And so I started, I'm married, so I knew how to date. Not that I wanted to ever do it again, but I started founder dating, and I started looking and meeting with people, going to networking events, and just putting myself out there. And I was looking for certain qualities that I knew matched what I didn't do well, or was harmonious or complement to what I could do and what my vision was. And that's when I found Evan. And so we founder dated, I guess, for about a couple months. And then it was kind of popping the question, hey, do you want to do this with me? Are you cool? You know, you get that awkward conversation. And he said yes, so we're here today. And FourUp's our baby. And so The number one thing I had to do before FourUp could even grow, become anything, is I had to find someone that I personally thought was the right guy for the job or the right girl for the job, and that would be a perfect match that we could work together with. So that's what happened. Now, going back to your question, where did golf come from? I grew up and I casually golfed. My friend, his parents owned a golf course, so we'd go there occasionally. But Evan is a golf fanatic. So if there's ever, we get invited to golf tournaments, events like that, if we ever want to represent FourUp in a good way, I stay at the office and Evan goes golfing. That's the kind of golfer he is. So he brought into the idea that golf was something. So right off the bat, I find a founder, right? Now the next step is you need a business, right? Well, what does that mean? You need an idea to start. And so I came up with this idea called an idea a day, right? And so what we did is I sat down with them and I said, look, I've got a billion ideas, you've got a billion ideas. Everyone in this room, I'm assuming, shake of heads, we all have lots of ideas, right? Hey, it'd be cool, someone should create this. It doesn't mean they're all good ideas, and that's sometimes harsh, but the truth reality. So what we did is we did Idea Day, where I said, every single day, I want you to pitch me and I'm going to pitch you. And it doesn't have to be extremely elaborate, but something foundational of a business we could do. And I'll tell you what that did. It did two things. One, it got us churning on ideas, but two, it made us see everything in a different light. So it made us all of a sudden, when we go out to eat, realize, wait a second, the software that they're using to ring in my transaction or what I want to order, that's a software business that's doing that. The printers that are printing out the receipt, that's a business creating those printers. The food that's being shipped there, Cisco or whatever, those are all business. So we started to open up our minds and had all these ideas. And so every single day we came up with new ones. And I can tell you, this is a screenshot from what we actually did. And I don't know if you can steal any of these because you might not be able to read them. But obviously they didn't all make the list, but we did this for over 100 days. And I was still going to BYU. Evan had just graduated. And he said, I don't want to go work for the man, right? I want to create my own company. And I said, well, that's what I want to do. It's the only reason I'm going to school. And so we did this for over 100 days, and golf just kept winning over and over and over. Influenced by his golf background, he loved golf, and he just said, let's look at that industry. So we're looking at this industry, and over and over and over, golf is just this terrible, outdated software solutions. And we said, man, we got to be able to do something like that. So that's where the idea of FourUp came from. Now, the first thing we realized is Evan or myself knew how to code, right? I was like, oh, WordPress, I can figure that out. So I can make a WordPress. But then I realized, wait, if we're going to do software, if we're really going to do this, I need someone that's smart, not just someone that can build a website. And so then it became the hunt. Do we have any developers in here? Anyone from technology? Okay, I guess not. Okay, so all of you, if you want to do a tech company, are going to need a co-founder. So this is how I took the approach. I went on to KSL and a few other job forums, BYU, UVU, others, and I said, got this fantastic idea. It's going to be $1 billion company. I'm a genius. Come join me. And you guys can put together the rest of the story of how well that worked. So we actually, after probably a month, got a few people that were interested, and we came in for interviews. And this is kind of how the interview went. Okay, so we have this idea for golf. It's awesome because no one else is doing it. You're going to help revolutionize golf, and we're going to go into other industries after. It's going to be huge. So your current job, you know that one you're working right now, it's got benefits, pay, and it's kind of cushy. You go home at 5 and you're done. We want you to quit that job, and we want you to come work with us, and there's going to be pay in the future, and there's going to be benefits maybe in the future. We'll get there. But it's going to be really cool, and we'll have snacks at the office, right? So you can imagine that's kind of a hard thing to sell. So you got to be really good at selling that. And so we went through some guys. We actually had a couple that we dated, I guess, and we were interested. They were interested. But the co-founder that we brought on for tech that we actually found, we were just at a career fair, and Evan, my business partner, found someone that he knew. He just saw him over there, and he walked over and started chatting with him. Well, standing next to him was our to-be CTO. And so Evan's talking to him, and just to make conversation, I start talking to this guy. And I find out that he works for Qualtrics. Everyone know Qualtrics in here? Okay, so good tech company, good company to come from. And he does development work for them. And so my ears, right, perked, and I said, hey, you know what, let's let them chat. How about we go upstairs where the little lounge is and some chairs, and let's go chat. I want to pitch you my idea. And 30 days later, he's now on the team working for us in a crazy atmosphere of taking no pay. And I don't know how it happened, but it worked, right? So it's funny, you put yourself out there and you go through these things, and that's how we found a developer. But we had to do that before we could move to the next step. So check, right? We're checking all these things. This is exactly how FourUp went. So the next thing we did is we said, well, we still got an idea. Maybe we should go pitch it. So we started entering competitions. BYU, UVU, we have these business competitions, right? So we entered and we just started failing, and we didn't even make it past the first rounds. But one thing happened. After about 4 or 5 of them, we made it to one, and they gave us $5,000. And we thought, this is awesome. We are a real company. Everyone loves us. And then the event, they took photos with it. It was over, and then we went back to our cave and realized, oh, crud, wait, we still don't have anything but $5,000, and that's not going to get us anywhere. So we went and we pitched, and we made another competition. We won, and we said, great, we won. Give us all our money. And they said, oh, well, we're going to give you in-kind services. Does anyone know what in-kind services are? Who said that? No? Yeah, what are they?
Depending on who's hosting it, like if it's hosted by an accounting firm, they say, we'll give you $20,000 worth of accounting.
That's exactly right. So we got legal, accounting, and all sorts of $15,000 worth of services. And I was like, oh, great. I need accounting for zero revenue? I'm not even paying myself. I don't even need payroll accounting. And so, it's these hard awakenings that we said, man, but at least it validated. And what it did is it told our team and told each other that, hey, we really could make something of this. We're still selling ourselves, mind you, selling our wives, that this is a good idea. So then we did Boom Startup. Has anyone heard of Boom Startup in here? Couple? So we got into Boom Startup and we started pitching. We said, hey, we've got this awesome idea. There's no tech involved yet, but we'll get there. But it's really cool in concept. And somehow, some way, we made it in and we accepted the offer and we went through that. And so what it made us do is it started pivoting. So FourUp, we talked about, is a point of sale, right? It's a reservation. It's all this business management system. FourUp, when it started, was just this idea that we would connect golfers. So we're on the B2B, we're on the business-to-business side. We sell to businesses, that's our customer. When we started, we were on the B2C, so we were a business selling to consumers or customers, you and I, if we wanted to go golf. And we said, it's going to be awesome. We're going to make a way for you and I to connect as golfers, find tee times, and go out and play. So we had all these great ideas, and we kept failing over and over. We'd go execute, we'd go interview, and people would say, yeah, that's a cool idea, but we could never make it happen. And so what Boom Startup helped us do is it helped us pivot. And so we kept changing over and over and over to where our business is today. And the only thing it has in common is the word golf. It has nothing to do with what we started. Who knows the founding story of Twitter? Everyone knows what Twitter is, right? If you don't, probably in the wrong class. But does anyone know the beginning story of Twitter? Twitter, we know what it is today, started as a podcast platform company. Everyone knows what a podcast is, right? Little digital audio things on your phone, computer. They were actually, if we have iPhones or Apple Play, you can download the podcast app. That's where you stream everything through. That's how Twitter started. Then Apple launched theirs and they said, we're dead. And so then they had to pivot. Luckily for any tweeters out here, and for them as a multi-billion-dollar company, they're glad they pivoted. But this is a normal thing that happens with any business, is you come up with this idea, you think you're a genius, you don't want to tell anyone because they'll steal it, but then you realize there's this one problem, it's called execution. And when you start doing that, that's when you realize, okay, maybe my idea just needed to mature or grow a little bit. So what did we need to figure out what we were doing. So we type competitors in golf industry, we Google search and we just start looking at all our competitors. We want to create this point of sale, this tee sheet. And so we literally just got on Google. No one came from the golf industry. Nobody knew the industry. Nobody knew point of sale, reservation. Our technical side hadn't built anything like this. And so all we did is we didn't go to school and classes and other things to figure it out. We just started Googling. We started watching the videos of our competitors and trying to figure out what it is of why someone would give them money and they should give it to us instead. So we realized there's probably 25 top competitors out there doing our research. So again, foundational stuff. What do we want to do? What else is out there? We realized the average age of their software was 8 years old. And when you look at it, it kind of looks like Microsoft and Windows 98 got together and had a baby. And that's our competitor. And we said, man, we could do this so much better. And so that was our pitch. That's what we started going on, is to say, look, this is what they're running. Look how many clicks it takes just to do one function. What if it was a web-based system, SaaS? What if it was like Apple, intuitive, clean design, really easy, anyone could walk up and use it? And so we started talking to people, and their responses was, we hate this product. If I could, I'd throw it out the window. I'd rather use paper and pencil. It's easier to build a nuclear missile than use this piece of junk, right? That's what consumers were telling us, and we said, okay, I think we have something here. We thought of an idea. I had got a founder. We got a technical side. We got a little momentum, and we said, all right, now we need to be serious, and we need to start building. So we figured out what our competitors were doing, and then we said, all right, if we're really going to successfully do this, I need to have people that are a lot smarter than me, and specifically in the industry of what I was trying to do, whatever ideas you guys have, I needed champions in that industry, people that could help me understand what it is that I didn't know about that. And so we just went around. These are local golf courses, and we just went to the golf course, and we said, and I would in every case, as much as you can, play the student card. I walked up to the front desk. They're asking, hey, when's your tee time? Sorry, I don't have one. I'm a student. I was at BYU. I'm a student at BYU trying to learn more about the golf industry. Can I just come behind the desk, sit here for an hour, and watch you operate? And every single time they said yes. And so I said, this is fantastic. I'm watching what my other competitor softwares are doing, and I'm watching how a user uses it. Whether it's supposed to be used that way or not, this is how they're doing it, whether to do it fast or get other functions. And so, as you can guess, the easy things it taught me was to say, what do they love about their system? What do they hate, and what do they wish it did? So where's the platform for me to start developing my software? Right off that list. It was an awesome outlet, and all we did was ask. Drove to the course, asked them if we could sit behind the desk, said, don't get in the way, just watch, and that's what we did. And it was awesome. So then we came up, and everyone knows what Photoshop is, right? Not too difficult. Everyone knows someone that maybe has it. This is our software. This is Photoshop, right? So that's what we started pitching, was a Photoshop image. Hey, this is what the software can do. This is the new clean design. You can actually just click on it. You can drag and drop. It does everything, gives you stats, analytics. It's awesome, and people started eating it up. But where was our software? It didn't even exist. It was in beta, right? It was probably in alpha or whatever comes before alpha. It wasn't even there. But we had to get somewhere. I had to know if people were going to buy it before all of a sudden we start spending all this time and this energy and convincing our wives that they should keep going with no pay because this was a cool idea. And so the next thing we did is we said, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to raise money. So this is an actual screenshot of our document. We raised $200,000 in a convertible note. Does everyone know what a convertible note is? It's pretty much a loan. So we went and got a loan from investors for $200,000 without any paying customers, without a real product to launch. And we were able to convince them saying, hey, this is going to be awesome. Here's why. And we went through all these metrics. And they gave us $200,000. And we were so happy. And we thought we finally made it.
So why did you have to do that if you already had your developer? Did you not cut it, or did you need, because couldn't he just develop what you had with Photoshop without having a $200,000 investment?
He could, yeah.
What reason do you need that investment?
So great question. There's lots of different reasons you might need this. I'll give you the very specific reasons FourUp needed it. Because what we were doing and what we were taking on was so much bigger than just some simple small application, especially a B2C. Those are a lot easier to launch. Because if you launch them and you get into an industry, it's just by word of mouth. It's grassroots marketing. It kind of gets out there. Twitter could launch and it could take 5 years before it become mainstream, and that's totally fine. With ours, we were launching a business application that would run the golf course 24/7. There was no hiccups, there was no breaks, couldn't have any bugs. It had to work. And when we went to the golf course, they said, we love your idea, but for us to replace ours, I need all these things to also work. So it was a massive, big project. It wasn't just a simple, small step, and there was a lot of heavy developing. So one, we needed extra help. The second big thing, and more main reason, is our developer had a wife and 3 kids. And so working for 4 months, 3 to 4 months for free as he did, wasn't going to cut it anymore. And so the only way to keep this going alive was to drop him, find someone else, and go through that whole process again and hope it works, because we had had some duds, or raise money, make it legitimate, sustain that, not have to pay full wage, but enough for him to live on, and then we could start bringing on other people. So we made the decision, not that we necessarily had to, that we were going to take $200,000. And we did it instead of giving out equity, we did it in a loan. So that's an alternative to just raising equity and just giving out a percentage of your company. So that's what we did. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Any other questions on that? Okay, so we had money in the bank. It's a cool feeling coming from nothing, right? And all of a sudden your Wells Fargo, we use Wells Fargo business account. All of a sudden I walk in to do a personal check or something else, maybe $25 from something. And I put it in there like, okay, oh, Mr. Ragar, hello. And it's 200,000 sitting in the bank, and all of a sudden everything's changing. It's kind of cool. And so, but then we realize, oh wait, this isn't really our money. We actually have to make money to pay this back. This is a business decision. So the next thing is you need the right team. So that's why we grabbed it. We want the right people on the bus. So getting the right people on the bus is very, very hard. I've learned. Maybe it's just hard for me. You can get lots of people that will interview great and perform terribly, or vice versa, that interview terrible but are that key guy you really want. And so there's a few things that we've learned over time is, and in all honesty, we've hired people, and you want to hire, if you can, slower and fire fast. And we've hired guys and let them go within 3 weeks. We've also hired guys, kept them on for 6 months that we should have let go within 3 months. And the problem that happens in a small startup is it's not just cash. So you're not just burning whatever you're paying them, you're also burning the valuable time that is an expense you put into them, as well as what they're doing and what they're representing your company. Now the hard thing again about a B2B play, business to business, is you launch yourself in the market and you get one major shot. And if it's a close-knit market like golf is, it's very networked, so they talk and they share. And if we were going to be the FourUp company, launch and blow it, then all of a sudden everyone would say, oh, my buddy tried that 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And it's like, man, it's been 3 years. We've perfected everything. He didn't like it. I'm good. That's what happens with B2B. And so it's a really hard play. So we actually went over the first about 18 months, maybe 16 months, without even a website. You couldn't even find anything about FourUp online. And strategically, we did that because we didn't want anyone to find us until we were ready, any courses to call us, or businesses that would want to use us until we were ready to offer it to them. So what we did is we picked up the phone and we started cold calling. And we called courses and we begged them to use it. We said we'd give it to them for free, and we got to probably about 8 courses doing that. But we got a lot of no's, and we wondered what the heck was going on. And so then we said, hey, what if we charge $100 a month? And everyone's like, oh, that's a pretty good price. I'll take $100. And we're like, what the heck? I would give it to you for free. So we learned a valuable lesson. If it's free, people then start to think your product isn't worth anything. And so we had to increase the price. So we started out people paying $100 a month, and over time it's evolved that people are paying, $10,000 plus a year for our software. And it's because we've learned to add value, and we've also learned that our company and the software and what we provide is worth that. In the beginning, we were just trying to get people on, but it was very important for us to learn in the B2B play that you give it away for free, and a lot of times your price also indicates how worthy your software is. And our software to them was worth nothing because it costs nothing. Does that make sense? So that was a hard thing for us to learn. So we brought on other developers, pumped up the software, made it worth more. We grabbed support because all of a sudden we had to do support and we didn't know what the heck we were doing. People were calling in, hey, I found this bug, or hey, we have this issue, or hey, I don't know how to do this. And so we started training and doing different functions that. So we had to bring on a support team. And again, now let's take a few steps back. I'm Joel, right? I came from just being a student, and now I'm running a company, running employees. I didn't necessarily have the lessons on this. And so sometimes I ran into a lot of trouble because I'd try, and one of the hardest things for me to do sometimes, especially when it's your little baby, is to delegate. Because I know how to do it. I've been there from the beginning, so I know the software, the business, everything inside and out. And now I'm telling someone else that's only been at the company 3 weeks old, go do this, but I trust you'll do it 110% and do it with the same intent and perfection that I would do it. Which, I'll be honest, doesn't always happen. And so you run into these things. These are outside the cool stories you usually hear about, where all of a sudden we're having support issues, where people are calling in, talking to someone, and the person they were talking to didn't even know how to solve their problem, putting them on hold for 10 minutes, learning how to do it, and then going back and doing it. So you can see that when you go to a big company, there's training, there's onboarding, there's all this stuff. There's reasons for that, but unfortunately at a startup, you don't really have all the luxury to do that. So these are real challenges that we face. They're called growing pains that we had to go through. Another one was sales. Here's the hardest thing with sales. Do we have any sales in here? I saw your Moxie shirt, right? So any other sales? Anyone been in sales? Okay, take no offense. I did door-to-door sales. Salesmen by nature are babies, right? So we all complain, we all want the best, everything. And so bring a salesman on, teach him to work at a startup, pay him less, but offer him big commissions that they can earn. It's a really hard thing. And so the number one turnover in our company was sales. We'd bring on a guy, he would have this huge clout. We were recruiting him from other big companies in Utah that they were doing sales out, and they would fail. And they would fail for two reasons. One, because either we were bad at interviewing and we just didn't get the right guy, or two, because it's hard to create an environment. And that's the one thing that I've learned as we've grown, is you can't just bring someone on, put them in, and make them successful. You got to have a go-getter, but you also have to create culture within your company that instigates and helps create a way for them to be successful. You can't just bring a guy that was selling great, put him in FourUp, and have him go. Maybe he was selling great because he had all the resources. He had an assistant that was doing a lot of busy work, so he was able to spend more time. Maybe he was using a different program, the automated thing. And there's all these weird things that you think about that are really hard when you go through a startup because you don't have it, and sometimes you just don't have the money to afford it. So these are real growing pains for us. So the thing that we decided to do was cut down sales. Go ahead.
Sorry, I have a quick question. So as you started bringing on more employees, did you have an option pool for them, or how did you kind of determine salary versus equity or no equity and stuff like that?
Yeah. Does everyone know what an option pool is? Is that familiar? Do you want me to run through it? What is the, sorry, I asked two questions. The yes was for run through it, or do you guys know? You guys know? Has it been taught in this class? So a company, you think of it as a pie, right? So Evan and I started the company, and we decided we just wanted to split it down the middle, 50-50. I own 50% of the company. He owned 50% of the company. We bring on a co-founder, and we say, guess what? We can't pay anything, but I'm going to give you this chunk of the pie. And so he has that chunk. Then there's what's called an option pool. And so when you start taking this pie, the pie doesn't necessarily grow. It grows, but your percentage is shrinking every time you add on more people, right? And so what you do is you create an option pool. So in our company, we created a 15% option pool. So we took 15% of the company, which means it shrunk everyone else's percentage. So today, obviously, I don't own 50% of the company anymore. And we took 15%, and what we use that for is when we want to recruit or bring on an employee, we can say, I'll either pay you market value or maybe a little more and give you options, meaning stock, equity, a percentage of our company for you to jump ship and come over. Or I say, I can only pay you half of what you're worth, but I'm going to give you the rest of the worth in options, stock, percentage of the company. Does that make sense? So we had a 15% option pool, to answer your question, and for key employees or different employees, we thought we gave them a percentage from that 15, and it depends on what we gave them, what we were compensating them in equity. And some, depending on their position, we don't give them any equity because maybe they're also not motivated by that. You could give someone 20% of your company, and they're not motivated by that because they have the stress of paying a house payment or something else, and they don't care about 5 years from now or 20 years from now. And so giving that to them won't do them any good. Well, you want someone that'll be motivated by it. That make sense? Any other questions on that? Okay. So the next step of our company, of what we did to grow, is we had probably about 65 courses. So we thought we were awesome. We still remember two important things that are funny to us. One thing Evan said, and he used to always say, is when we get to $7,000 recurring revenue, we are going to be awesome. That's monthly recurring revenue, right? And so we're like, man, if we get to 7,000, that's cool. We have a real company. Last month, we brought in 158,000 in new sales, recurring revenue, right? So when we look back at that, you see these different levels that change, and we're like, 7,000, that's pathetic. That won't even cover our costs for anything. And so you look at these stages, but what was it that took it to these stages? One of the most major things that took it to that stages is we learned about SEO and PPC. Does everyone know what SEO PPC is? SEO is search engine optimization. PPC is pay-per-click ads. And what that does, is there a hand over here? What that does is when I type golf course software, and I did this right before I came over here, you see first thing up here is golf course software, FourUp Golf, fourupgolf.com software demo. But you'll also notice an important thing. This is called an ad, This is called an ad, and an ad, right? This is how Google makes money. We're paying Google to put FourUp there on certain keywords so that FourUp shows up first as much as we can. Because when someone wants a new software and they type in T-sheet reservation, golf POS, any of our 40 keywords that we're doing, we want to be the first thing that shows up and is in their face. And the reason we want that is because we want them going onto our website so they can see our software, so they can really want it, and they can submit a form to us. It's called inbound sales, inbound leads. So our whole company and all our sales that we do now is driven off this. This is PPC. I'm paying for this. So I pump thousands of dollars every single month to Google and to Bing to give me leads. It's an interesting concept if you haven't heard of it before. But we used it, and the second we started doing that, our sales shot up. And we weren't doing anything different. In fact, we were cold calling before, right? Begging a course to listen to a demo. And what we were doing is trying to find people that maybe were interested. Now we were getting leads handed to us of people that were already looking for it, which meant they were interested, they were in buying mode, and they're ready to spend money or make a switch from what they had. It was fantastic. That's PPC. The next thing you'll notice is here's where the ads are. Here's where real organic searches are, meaning that Google scrapes all the websites in the entire world and says, based on what you type, here's what I think is probably the best website. And that's SEO. It's called search engine optimization. So on our website, you build the back end and you do certain keywords and different functions like that that make Google like your page better than others. So in this particular search, we're number 2, which obviously doesn't make me too happy, but I'll be number 2 is all right because I'm still number 1. So now I have multiple spots. And again, same function here, I'm getting people coming to me. So what it did for our sales force, which was our hardest thing to do, not that sales is bad or we shouldn't keep doing that, and we could actually increase sales if we figured that out better, is we're getting people coming to us asking for our business. In fact, we had 4 forms today before I came in that I was actually looking at. 4 people submitted and said, I'm ready to switch software, yours looks awesome, when can we demo? And if you think about that when you create something, that's like the most ideal setup, right, that you want is just people coming to you and saying, can you just show me, here's my questions, I'm ready, what's the cost, I'm ready to sign, so it's you or someone else. Give me your pitch. And that's a fantastic thing to do. So that's what we did. Does that make sense to everyone? Does anyone have any questions on that?
So to get the kind of monthly recurring revenue that you have right now, how much are you paying in PPC and SEO, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we pay about $5,000 a month.
Combined?
Which is actually extremely cheap, and there's 2 reasons for it. One is we stay on top of it, so you can let SEO go. It's a longer discussion, but we're really focused on it, and then the second thing is we do a lot of it internal too. And so maybe some side maintenance on top of that. But outside sources, we pay other vendors about $5,000 a month to get us these leads, and then for our guys to close them. So here are some of the game changers. These are things that I thought of that helped us get from there, right? From starting in the cave to all of a sudden doing millions in sales, what really made that happen? I don't really have a key answer for you guys. And if anyone wants to do it, I'm happy to discuss more, maybe some more in-depth things that we did. But here's the thing that really launched it. We created our own startup university. What I mean by that is there wasn't a class I could go at any university that said, here's how to create a point of sale. Here's how to create a reservation. Here's how to sell to the golf industry. There wasn't anything like that. So what did we do? We just Googled all day long. We went on forums all day long. We tried to go to events and just ask people. And I can tell you, it's really hard sometimes, especially in the small Utah network here, to find someone that's built a point of sale company that's built anything in the golf space. So we just had to constantly learn. We had to have a desire to just pick up as much info as we can from other industries and try to apply it for ours. So I'd encourage everyone to learn as much as you can. The next thing was to learn what customers want. Remember when I walked behind the desk and I just sat there and watched customers? Whatever business you want to do, whether it's learning a language, whether it's how to study better, anything, go in the environment that's happening or is supposed to happen and just observe. Watch what's happening and just let people tell you what they would pay you for. And that's what you build. You have a sure business when you do that. Have the customers drive it. For me, it was finding a partner and then other key members of the team. So now we're a team of 15 other employees, which is kind of cool to get to that level. We have a long way to go, obviously. Companies all the time die, and so I don't say that we're a secure company. We have fantastic growth, we're doing well, but we could be doing a lot better. But the people that we're recruiting and we're hiring and we brought on in the last 3 months another 4 people, is we're trying to find these key members that I can take over an item of business and say, you go do this and perform it the best of the ability, because I'm only giving it 20% of my time. You give it 100 and make it explode at FourUp. So finding those key people, and then as I just went over, SEO, PPC just exploded our sales. So finding other key areas to sell your product is amazing, rather than you having to do all the work. See what other things you can leverage. And my last point is just brave enough to say yes, smart enough to say no. Let me explain what I mean by that. So a couple years ago, right when we're starting, we get this invitation from what's called Billy Casper Management Company, one of the top management companies in the world as far as how many golf courses they manage. And they say, fly out to our offices in Virginia. And we fly out there and we're pitching to them to try and win their business. And this is when we have less than 100 and we're thinking we're so cool. And we're in with these big wigs and they're doing millions and millions and run hundreds of courses. And we thought that we were so cool. And they start just ripping our software apart in a polite way, saying, it needs to have this, needs to have this, needs to have this, and obviously we have nothing. We have barely anything to get a small podunk course to work. And so we had to, at that moment, pick certain things. I can tell you right now, we don't have that business, and there's a few reasons for it. One, because we were brave enough to say yes to go learn, but we were smart enough to say, no, we cannot do your software. No, we can't take this business on. And I can tell you a very important thing. If we would have won that business or got into that opportunity, we wouldn't be here today, because our company would have been crushed. They're the most known in the industry. It would have easily been known. FourUp was chosen by them, and within 2 months, FourUp was pulled out of them, and we would have died. And that's happened over and over and over, where people have said, I'll give you $10,000 a year to use your software. I just need this one feature. And I look at our list of other things we're building on development, and I say, I've already committed all this. I can't do that. But if we do it, it's $10,000. But then I look at it, is it $10,000 that's going to project, or am I losing more than that by doing this one function? And so it's hard to kind of put that in. And I can tell you it's an easier decision now when you're making more money than when you're making $30,000 your first year. And so those are the hard things that just took a lot of courage, is to be able to say yes and also to be able to say no. So that's the end that I have for you guys. You guys are welcome to reach out to me. That's my email address, Twitter, whatever you want. So, do we go into questions? How did it go? That was kind of rough put together. Was it okay?
That was really good.
Okay, good.
How valuable is Boom Startup? I mean, you talked a little bit about Boom Startup, and they get some equity in your company, but do you feel like if you did it again, would you go for Boom Startup?
Today I would not. It really depends on where you're at. Would I, if I was in the same exact spot as I was, would I do it again? I would say yes. It did two things for us. One, it helped me create a network of a lot of people I know in Utah that know about business that I didn't know. And I didn't know anything about business. I've never taken a business class. I've never come from that background. I was going into law school. My wife married me thinking I was going to be a lawyer, and I flipped that on her. So it legitimized things. And the second thing is it made us a real company to our team. And I think that's what's hard is I've seen a lot of friends, and I see companies all the time still that are in the dorm room, right, in the idea stage, sitting in the library, and they never go anywhere. And the reason is because no one takes it serious. It's still just a fun summer project or afternoon project. And it legitimized it for us, committed to us that we are real, and then we're able to commit to others that we are real too. Any other questions?
You don't have any, I didn't see any golf courses in Mexico. Are you in that country?
No, so we only currently service English.
They speak English.
Well, we've had a few courses that have tested it, but a lot of their, at least it's not a function. So I'll give you a quick example. We've been approached, in fact, last year, there's a lot of opportunity. And again, this is part of the being brave enough to say yes, but smart enough to say no. So last year we had 5 acquisition offers. People came knocking at our door saying, we want to buy your company. And one of them we almost accept. We flew down and met with them 3 times. And on the last visit, we stood up in a polite way and said, this isn't going to work, and walked out and flew home 1 hour later. But it was because we were smart enough to realize that's not the position that our company wanted to be in. The other thing is international. We get hit up minimum 5 times a month by every single country in the entire world. Southeast Asia and Africa and Australia, New Zealand. Those are huge markets for golf, and we get hit up all the time. The problem with it, though, is when you move international is you have a thing of support issue, time zones. You have a thing of your point of sale, currencies, and how those do, as well as communication, so addresses and all this stuff we'd have to reprogram in our software. That's not hard. It's not that we couldn't do it. We could probably have it done in 30 days. It's just at the opportunity and the growth we're doing in the U.S. versus moving those for a potential growth. So that is something, at least on our horizon being in full disclosure, is 2016, we're already developing several things to launch over into Europe and other countries that, again, speak English. But you got to have a lot more in place that I've learned now. 3 years ago, I would have jumped on the opportunity, but today, if I'm going to be successful there, I know I got to have a lot more infrastructure on the back end to be successful there. We out of time? Any other questions?
So would you recommend when you're starting up a business, just go with other small businesses first and then gradually go to bigger corporations and companies?
That's how we did it. I mean, I'd recommend depending on what your business model is. Ours was dynamic enough in the golf industry. We had our small golf courses, our medium golf courses, our mid to high, and then our high end. So right now we service everything but the high end, but it started in that chart. And so for us, the easiest way to get to market, because when you're building a software solution, you can test it all day long, and then the second you put it in a real environment, they break it, and you're like, what the heck? I just built that. And so they're going to give you real feedback, and you want people using it. So for us, we started on the low, so we did exactly that. I don't know, depending on whatever industry you're looking at, maybe it's better, and maybe that's your customer on the big end. But we were lucky enough to have that pie chart of the different degrees of golf courses, and we started on the small and moved up.
All right, so thank you, Joel, so much.
You're welcome.